How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have the Last Martyr all the way from Australia, and they can say their names and what they do in the band.
Hey, I'm Monica. I'm the vocalist of The Last Martyr. And yeah, we're from Australia, from Melbourne. It's currently 10 o'clock in the morning here. So got my coffee.
There you
Let's
go.
do it.
Exactly. I don't have coffee. I have my seltzer water, so just thrive in here. But I
Nice.
want to thank Ophelia. I'm pretty sure she was the one who originally got it set up, and then Monica came in with the blessings. I want to apologize to Ben right now. We had something scheduled, and I, ironically enough, had a show I was going to, and I told him I was not going to be home. So, Ben, I hope you accept my apology. I'm sorry, man. Normally that never happens, so.
It was a K-pop show, though, so
It's a
it's
K-pop
okay.
show, yeah.
I
So.
imagine it was a very, very good show.
Ooh, it was wild. We went to go see Tribe, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with them or not, but they were insane. So I have a lot of respect for K-pop. There will be a video out at some point in the coming future about that, so be excited. It's going to be cool. But anyway, we're here to talk about The Last Martyr, and I just want to say I had a chance to listen to while I was making dinner, comedy/tragedy and sugar, and I was like, where has this band been? Like, they like, oh, you guys crush it. Like, there's no other way I can describe it. I legitimately was making my dinner and eating it, and I was just like, this is so good. So I gotta give, I don't know, Ophelia's got her ears to the ground in Australia, and I'm so grateful for it because, man, I don't know. I say it all the time. I feel like a broken record, but Australia, you guys got something special in the water,
Thank you.
in the food. I don't know what it is, but there's something special about the music you guys write.
It's definitely the Melbourne coffee that helps. I think we'd all be zombies in this like extremely cold weather that we're having right now. Yeah, I mean, Ophelia is amazing because she gets to, she's our PR person. She gets to put our music in front of people that may not have heard of us before, may not never have the opportunity to hear us or see us live or anything like that. So I'm very, very grateful to her. But yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. Comedy, Tragedy, and Sugar are our two latest singles, and they were definitely a little bit of a different direction for the band.
Yeah, no, I think if this is the direction you guys are heading, then I wouldn't be surprised if you guys are much larger the next time I talk to you. So I would be shocked if that was the case. But the first question I have for you, Monica, is that I ask this about every band just because I'm a nerd and I love asking about it. But how did The Last Martyr kind of start out? How long ago did you guys kind of form together and create the band? Feel free to spare no expense. I am a lore guy, so feel free to just tell me all the juicy details,
Yeah, also, it's so funny. Before this call, I was just like thinking about what maybe we might talk about.
Sure.
And for some reason, the what came to mind is when I moved from Sydney to Melbourne to actually pursue music,
Wow.
all by myself, and just that story like came to mind, and I'll tell it if you like.
Go on ahead. Share it with the crowd.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been pursuing music for a really long time. My first serious band was about, I would say I started taking music seriously from the ages of 13, 14, 15. It just took me a really long time to find people that were sort of the same mindset and did want to actually pursue a career from the music industry. And I've been in like 7 bands all throughout, my teen years and 20s. And I used to play bass, and then I moved to vocals, and now I'm a vocalist. And I can't even remember how to play bass, which is kind of sad, but I still have it because it's my baby. And yeah, so like I was in a band for about 6 years in Sydney, and we were just starting to really sort of make waves. And then that band sort of parted ways. It was just kind of time for us. And I thought, well, what next? And I was getting to a stage in my life where I thought I didn't want to give up on music. I really still had that burning passion, but I'd been in a couple of bands already, and I just thought, is it going to be possible for me to find like-minded people again and start from the beginning? So I ended up moving from Sydney to Melbourne. I hated my job at the time. I had a breakup. I needed to move out of the house that I was living in with my ex-partner. And I basically, my whole life was going to be starting again from zero anyway. So I thought I may as well do that in Melbourne. Packed up my car, just threw whatever I could in the car and drove 10 hours from Sydney to Melbourne.
Wow.
I didn't know where I was going to stay. I had a job lined up that only got lined up, I think, a week before I went. And I was just sort of trusting the universe that it would all work out. And I rang one of my friends who I knew from the music industry just up in Sydney, who is now living in Melbourne. And I was like, hey, man, like, remember how you sort of said I could crash on your couch, like, if I didn't find anywhere to stay? Were you being serious about that offer? And so I ended up crashing on my friend's couch for about a month. I ended up moving into a spare room in the house. And all this time I was trying to find musicians. That was my one focus here in Melbourne. And I was on like chat rooms and looking on Facebook. And then eventually I was on this chat room called Melband, or this kind of like Craigslist type thing. And I came across Ben. He was probably the only decent guitarist that I had found in a little while. And we were chatting. He seemed really cool. I really liked his demos. And then he ghosted me. So I was like, I've like literally sold everything I have. I've moved to Melbourne. I'm crashing on a couch right now. I've, gone back and forth with a few people with demos, and I still haven't found a band. It's 9 months into like being here, and I just got ghosted by the one hope that I had of forming a new band. And it was so sad because I really felt like a piece of me was missing. But eventually he turned up again. It turns out he was just overseas, and he came back, and we met up, and with the first, like one of the other guitarists, we had two guitarists originally. So I met them for a meal and a drink, and we just got along really well. And the band started from there. I think we had the band name within about a week. We had a couple of demos happening that we were writing very, very quickly. And we were of the same mindset in terms of we wanted to start online, build online, a little bit of a presence first before even playing a show. And we ended up releasing our first single in July 2018. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride from there. We've had a couple of different lineup changes. Our current bassist, Ricky, was a very, very close friend of the band and even of our own bassist who lives in Japan now. So we've had the four of us in this lineup for, quite some time, and it's really fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. What a story. I love hearing that sort of stuff just because it's like there's something about music that drives people together in that way. So I felt like this story is very much like if you try to build it, it will come at some point, and so I'm so glad that you were able to, obviously reconnect with Ben in that way, because obviously I have emailed Ben, so I know he's real, but it would hurt me if that's how the story kind of like stopped, and then eventually you guys wind up coming back together. But yeah, it's so crazy to me, and I don't think people that are like just listen to music understand how much effort and how much time it takes for bands to really kind of put everything together in that way, because like it almost feels like everything has to like align perfectly in that way for things to click. Did you? I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, from moving, like I can't even imagine the kind of like mental load it might have put on you to want to be like, okay, I'm scrapping everything. I have to move so I can like, move on to my next path in life. Like, do you have any advice for people that maybe like are in that sort of position where they're like, oh my God, there's so many things going on in my life, and like I really want to pursue music? Do you have any advice for people that are stuck like that you were in that position, and can you give them any advice?
Yeah, definitely. One of the reasons why I moved from Sydney to Melbourne, it was the Sydney music industry had really been crushed by what's known as the lockout laws. And this was basically a law that this city put on a central radius within our city, where certain venues and bars, anywhere that served alcohol, had to close at 2 a.m. Now, that also like trickled down into like different like liquor licenses and stuff. And I know that it's okay, 2 a.m. isn't super early or anything like that, but I know that that's like kind of normal in the States. But for us, we like, it really put a lot of pressure on venues. We couldn't have any shots after midnight. There was just a whole bunch of like different little rules that came about because of like one incident of someone being like coward punched like in the street. And they basically just shut the whole city down, which is like a terrible thing to happen, but they really shut the whole city down. A lot of businesses went broke because they weren't able to trade as long. And a lot of music venues, unfortunately, were impacted by that as well. So over the last like couple of years, the music industry had really been kind of bottlenecked in Sydney, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity. There wasn't a lot of venues to play. And so I think for anyone, I get asked all the time, I can't find the right people. And it's like, you have to put yourself in a situation where you are going to find the right people. And I knew that Melbourne has so many music venues. It's the music capital and the arts capital of Australia. It's kind of like the LA or New York of America, I guess. And except it's a much smaller scale, unfortunately.
Sure, yeah.
But, it's the place that you want to go without going overseas. If you want to meet musicians, have more opportunities to actually make money playing shows because there's just more venues, and there's just a different culture around music here. The standard as well of musicianship down here is a lot higher for some reason. I think maybe because there's more competition.
Sure, yeah.
But I always used to notice living in Sydney, whenever a Melbourne band would be on tour and like play up in Sydney, I'd be like, whoa, these guys all have like in-ears and their own sound person. And that's just normal here. But for an emerging band in Sydney, that was crazy. But all of this to say, like, I get asked by people who like live out in the country, or they live maybe in a city that's, like Perth, that's really, really far removed from the rest of Australia. And they are just like, what do I do if I can't find the right people? And I'm like, well, you just have to move. And you only get one life. And it's like, well, you could stay where it's safe, and you could just wish and like fingers crossed that the right people come along, which they could. That's not to say they can't. But you really have to like chase those opportunities as well, and just be smart about putting yourself in the right situations to make your like dreams happen.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice, because I think oftentimes people ask me about interviewing bands, and I just said I just started doing it. Like I didn't ask any questions. I just like literally DM'd people. Like I did all that I could, because I knew that if this is something I really actually wanted to do, or that I really had the guts or the charisma to do it, then I have to show that I can do it and that I can go out and get it. So I feel the same way about musicians in that way. I think that's kind of like why I connect a lot with musicians in that way. Like, I play music, but I don't play for any bands or anything. But I think for me, it's like I can find that sort of kinship in that, because it's like, wow, that people are going out and doing it. And I would say even more highly so for people in Australia, because as you mentioned, Monica, it's very like it's very like aggressive out in Australia for bands. Like I think that it's completely understated, I would say, just because I think the market out there is just so good. Like there's just something about every band is like, you see one band doing a song and they're like, okay, well, I have to step up my game. And then the next band's like, oh, okay, well, we have to jump higher than this band did. And I think it just brings about a great competition. And I think another band that I had interviewed, or a couple that I've interviewed at this point, is said that because you guys are like on this like island, quote unquote. Obviously, I know you're not on an island, but like you guys are so far removed from like the European or like the American kind of like music market. Like you have to make, no pun intended, you have to make your mark on music. And so I always, 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 always try to get Australian bands on here, because they're that untapped potential,
Oh, thanks. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, it's definitely like, I mean, I don't have too much to compare it to because I've always lived here, but it can be really, really hard. We can't make a living out of touring
Sure.
until you sort of reach a certain point where you can fill like 500 capacity rooms and such. So if you're just starting out, you can't just like hit the road and hope for the best, although you can from time to time. But it's definitely, you got to think about and use the online space, which we're so lucky to have in this day and age.
Yeah, I think that also shows that, like, I think Australia, at least in just seeing an influx more of Australian bands coming to like the States or going to Europe, I think that's a very good sign that 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 people are starting to become more receptive of that. Not that I feel like they ever weren't, but just because of the internet and people are like, "Oh my god, did you hear about the Last Martyr? They're insane. Go check them out." Like, and then like everybody goes and checks them out, and so that's what I hope you guys do. Go do it in the comment down below in the description. But I think for me, it's like that's like one of the best things about what I get to do is that I find out about all of these bands from literally countries that I'm not even familiar with, you know? And so it's to me, it's like, it's an awesome opportunity to show people that like there's an insane amount of talent wherever you live. You just have to look hard enough for it. And, you know, I'm very excited that the Last Martyr decided to come on here because I think they're awesome and you should go check them out. Because I legitimately, like, I had, again, as I told Monica before this, like, my brain hurt after I had finished listening to both of those songs. I was just like, this is so good. I'm mad that it's been an unkept secret for most people. Now I can share it with other people. So there we go. It's a great thing. But
I'm so glad. Thank you.
the next thing that I have for you, Monica, is a perfect segue. What song would you recommend to a new listener to check out first that hasn't heard of The Last Martyr?
Yeah, I definitely think check out Comedy Tragedy. I think it's like it does the bounce and the groove that we really love in our songs. It's probably our heaviest song to date, but it's also our most pop song
Yeah.
to date in a lot of ways, like musically and in terms of like screams and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely like super heavy. But the chorus, I mean, the chorus, you know, when I wrote it, I was like, shit, is this too pop? But I was like, no, I always love a juxtaposition. So I think that that's a really good place to start. I also, yeah, I really love the lyrics to Comedy Tragedy as well, and then maybe work your way backwards from there.
What are the lyrics for? What were kind of the themes you were going over for Comedy Tragedy?
Yeah, well, I actually have a Comedy Tragedy tattoo.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So not that the song's about that, but I just like I've never like I thought I was gonna have a shot of it in the music video and I didn't, so that was very sad.
There you go.
Um, um, but it's really about like I've always been like fascinated with the duality of life, and I always think that in different situations we wear different masks or different hats and present a different side of ourselves. And there's been a lot of moments in my life where I felt like I was leaning on more of a character as opposed to feeling authentic, and whether that was because of, you know, being in, say, a corporate job that I was in when I like just before I left Sydney. I was working in corporate for like 5 years, like it's kind of my first sort of job. And it was for an arts company, but it just really didn't feel like me. It was a 9 to 5 slog, an hour into the city, an hour out of the city, home. And it was just really hard, like as a creative, to try and I'm not a morning person either. So like I really just felt like I was playing this character. I would have to like dress a certain way that wasn't like comfortable and behave a certain way. And I was afraid like what people would like think, even though it was an artistic company in the music industry. And then there's also been like relationships that I've been in where I felt like the relationship was already over, but you're kind of pretending to hold it all together for a family event or just because, you know, you're afraid to break it off or whatever the situation is. So that's really what Comedy Tragedy is about. It's about these like dualities and kind of being at a stage where you know you need to be more authentic, but you're kind of still afraid to take that step and take off the mask, so to speak. And yeah, it's a very angry, sort of sarcastic song, I would say.
Yeah, no, I resonated a lot with that because I think I work a corporate like 9 to 5 job and then like I put on my interview mask and now I'm like, hey, it's me. This is actually what I do. Like, so I think it's like I found a lot of relation to that where I'm like I do my job and I answer phones and like, you know, I have my customer service voice kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And you go through the prompts, you do all this stuff, and then like this is where I kind of just am allowed to do whatever I want to do essentially and just allowed to be
Hmm.
myself in that way. And I had never really kind of felt that way, and then people come up to me at shows when I'm in Pennsylvania, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're Brandon, you do this stuff," and then like they expect you to be some sort of way, and so I feel like that's kind of like I get what you were saying, Monica, in your music, because I think sometimes I live that double life in a way, even though I don't feel like I. If you see me in person, I feel like I'm very similar to how I am here in this interview. So, but
Yeah.
you know, I can say that, but I don't. Other people might receive it differently. So I felt a lot of like correlations to my life about that song. So I think that one resonated with me a lot as well too. But I also really love Sugar as well. So I feel like I got to give that one a shout too, because that one was equally as riffy, equally as bouncy, and I just love how you guys kind of mesh like really great like bouncy metalcore riffs with like a little bit of like dark pop, like pop sort of sounds, like stuff that I think the kind of bands that resonated with me or that you remind me of are like, I think in terms of like guitar riffs and like writing, remind me a lot of like Avoid a Vision, that kind of
Ah,
like
cool.
where they have that electronic influence, and you know they've got some really bouncy riffs which I love. Shouts to Void of Vision. um
Yeah. Well, actually, just a fun fact. So Jack from Void of Vision, he actually styled our comedy tragedy video clip, and I have this like fluffy mic stand right here. It's got a cowboy hat on it, and for the video, he had this like feather boa, and he's like, "Your mic stand's too boring. We've got to like wrap something." So it's his like this feather boa thing that is on my mic stand at the moment, and it definitely like adds something. So yeah,
Even the cowboy hat too. Yeah.
even the cowboy. I mean, he didn't style this, but it's the vibe. Yeah, so that was really cool, and Jacob from Thornhill as well. They're like
Yes.
a team, and they do styling, and it was wild because we were shooting the comedy tragedy video clip, and the first scene that we shot was in this like 200-year-old like building, and he was there like, you know, confirming all the fits and stuff like that, and then the next day he had to go play Knotfest. And so I saw him the next day at Knotfest, and I had to interview him, and it was just crazy because like just the night before he was on our video clip till like late in the evening, and then the next day he was playing Knotfest, and yeah, I was just like, what a cool life you lead. That's awesome.
Shout outs to them. And also, ironically enough, I am wearing a Thornhill shirt. So shout outs to Jacob
Hey,
as well. Salutes. But yeah, I feel like guitar wise, definitely a little bit of like Void of Vision sort of influence. I also felt like musically a little bit too. You remind me a little bit of Scene Queen. I don't know if you've heard of her music, but like
yes.
a little bit of Scene Queen. And then I would say like the other one that kind of registered with me was like if Stand Atlantic was heavier, like their most current album.
Ooh.
I feel like if you were like if you wanted Stand Atlantic, but you wanted like a metalcore version of that, then I feel like The Last Martyr is 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
I'm loving Stand Atlantic's new stuff. So yeah, that's a huge compliment. And I always love hearing what people think that we sound like. And it's funny that you mentioned Scene Queen because I referenced her in our new song that's going to be coming out in a few
Oh,
months.
nice.
Well, not reference, but like she definitely inspired it. So I can understand why you said that.
Yeah, and I think also again you have a little bit of pop influence, a little bit of there was definitely some dark pop elements in your music as well too. So I think you guys really bring a unique, like refreshing sound to like the sort of metalcore genre, and I think that you guys don't compromise on like the heaviness of your band, but also still enjoy like a really good like chorus or like you know really strong chorus. So I think you guys hit both ends of the scale, and I gotta say, guys, if you listen to both songs, the breakdowns, 10 out of 10. Chef's kiss. I love them. My face. As I was eating, it was just like I had like as if I ate like a lemon or something, and I was just like, oh god, wow, this is insane. My roommate probably thought I was nuts. If you know if they came downstairs and they watched me like have my headphones in watching a YouTube video on my phone while eating dinner and didn't get the context. So, but yeah, the both songs are incredible. So definitely go check them out. I'll
Nice.
leave links in the description. But
That's our goal. We just want to make people like bring on the stank face.
oh,
So
you brought it. That the stank face was sufficient in both songs, so I can
awesome.
10 out of 10 recommend. But the next question I have for you, Monica, is who were some of the first artists that you saw that you were like, I want to be a vocalist? Obviously, I know you were a bassist originally and converted to a vocalist, but who were kind of the first people that you saw on TV or on YouTube or whatever where you were like, I would love to do vocals. That seems sick.
That's a really good question. I think I like when I was like super young, my one of my close friends was really into like 80s rock, and like she was really influenced by like her parents had really cool music taste and they were
Oh,
always listening
nice.
to music. And so she introduced me to like Guns N' Roses, but it wasn't like Axel that I fell in love with. It was actually like Slash and Duff. And I just
Yes.
thought that they were like the coolest motherfuckers out ever. But then later when I really enjoyed the songs, I knew like some of their like Sweet Child and some of their kind of bigger ones, I guess. But I really got to admire Axel's vocal range and lyrics. And there's it's hard to explain, but I really like lyrics that are in some ways like very like simple but also poetic.
Sure.
Like I don't like to overcomplicate lyrics, and I think that that's something Axel has just like this huge vocal range. And so he was really the first vocalist that I thought, oh wow, because I'd never heard anyone like him before. I also really liked M Shadows from Avenged
Ooh,
Sevenfold
yeah.
growing up. Another one where his range and technicality is just so on point. And then also Jonette Napolitano. These are all like old school bands. Like there wasn't many kind of like modern bands that I was
Sure.
really into
Yeah.
that I could see myself in. You know, not till much later. There wasn't a lot of women in music, I guess, when I was getting into heavy music, unfortunately. But like Jonette Napolitano from Concrete Blonde, she had this like she was a bass player too, had a very like low, deep voice, very sultry, and I'd also never heard anyone like her.
Yeah.
And then Chrissy Amphlett from Divinals as well was another one. She was just like, you know, basically very like sensual, and I really liked the way she twisted words, and her phrasing was very interesting to me. So those are really the four people that come to mind, and I know that they're so diverse. At the same time, like emo culture was really big too. So I like it's those are definitely the vocalists that sort of formed at least my taste early on as a vocalist.
Wow, those are some great choices. Like not ones that I feel like most people would gravitate towards originally. So I appreciate the fact that you kind of are you had picked something that I don't think the average person would have. You know, I think that's what makes I would argue your vocal is unique in that way where I don't feel like it's traditional. Like there's some parts where I was like genuinely like, wow, that's an interesting like melody. I didn't think that she would kind of go that route, or like there was some parts with the screaming where I was like, oh, this is a different like styling of screaming that I haven't heard in a little bit. So it was nice to hear kind of different tones and different like sounds. And I also appreciate the fact that you are like, well, I like to kind of make my lyrics as simplified in a way, but still kind of create an interesting meaning or again a juxtaposition to how you scream or how you sing, which I really kind of delved into. I went back and listened to them a couple of times just to kind of get my toes in the water a little bit, and I was genuinely like, these feel so direct in that way, but still like in a way that's like poetic. It doesn't seem like you're speaking to the heart in that way, but it's like very beautiful and very like thought out. So I don't know if anybody's
Thank
ever
you.
said that, but I do feel like that's kind of the vibes that I was getting out of it, and I really enjoyed just listening to it. I think that just makes me more excited that I found out about you guys, and now that you'll be releasing new music, that now I know I can delve more into it and get a little bit more invested each time. So very excited.
Thanks. I do have to shout out Ollie Sykes as well, because I do think that Ollie's been a
Oh,
kind of subconscious influence in the way that I string like cleans and screams together as well, and his lyric style. I like what he does in terms of taking like very kind of common sayings and then twisting them for his own benefit, and kind of makes people feel, at first, you know, I was like, that's not very original. That's just like a saying. And he's just using that in his lyrics. But then someone explained to me that actually, that's very purposeful. And I thought about it, and I think it makes you feel like you know the song before you've even heard it. And there's that familiarity. So yeah, I definitely admire Ollie as a vocalist as well.
Oh yeah, he's one of the, I would say he's one of the emo greats. You know, if we had like a wall of greats, I think I would argue for Bring Me the Horizon as a band to be on there. I don't know, you know, we have the Rock and
Yeah.
Roll Hall of Fame, so I'm waiting for like the emo Hall of Fame so then I can vote.
Yeah,
You know, that's what it's going to come down to. But
definitely.
I wanted to make a comment on something you said earlier, Monica, about being a woman in music. You know, how has that been for you? Because I think sometimes we often, especially myself, you know, in some ways, often neglect that sort of process because I think, you know, a lot of the times, you know, you get that typical saying if you're like anything remotely close to pop punk, you're like, wow, Haley Williams, you sound just like Haley Williams. And I hate that because I know that's not true. You know, even if like you do like Haley Williams and you were influenced by Haley Williams, doesn't mean you are Haley Williams, you know, and I think I think it's an important conversation to talk about, very similarly to me being, you know, an Asian American. I love being able to talk about my representation in the larger zeitgeist of music, you know, journalism in that way. So for you, like being a woman and being in an Australian band and that type of thing, have you had experiences with like fans coming up and saying like, "Oh my God, thank you for representing Australia and representing, you know, being a woman in the industry?" Because I think that, at least from my guessing, it's a small community over in Australia, I'd guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't have any women in music to look up to. The closest Australian woman in rock was Chrissy Amphlett from Divinals, who was around like before I was even alive. It was just that her autobiography came out when I was a teenager, and my dad bought it for me, and that's how I got into her music. But yeah, like it's hard to articulate because I don't know any different to what I've experienced. I just know that the amount of like tenacity and work I feel like any band has to put in, I do feel that that made me, it overrode the fact that you know, women in music wasn't very common here. Australia, unfortunately, was, I mean, it's just catching up now, but it was definitely, when I was first in bands, behind, say, Europe or even the States. And so I know for a fact that there was a lot of opportunities that I missed out on because people didn't know where to place, particularly I'm talking about my old band that I was in for 6 years. We were a band that sounded like Escape the Fate and Avenged Sevenfold, but I started to get a complex around, you know, I haven't had the opportunity to even listen in great detail to a band like Paramore, because everywhere that I went in interviews, they would be like, oh, you remind me of Hayley Williams, and I fucking hate pop punk. I don't like pop punk at all. It's just that she's got a strong voice and she's very good at what she does, but like Paramore was never an influence. I didn't
Sure.
like Paramore. I saw them live just because they were playing a festival, but I didn't go see them. I was like back on the hill, like, and it just became really frustrating for me because I understand. It was, you know, usually not with malintention that people would say that, but you know, it was just they weren't even listening to the music. They were just looking at my gender. That's really what it came down to. So yeah, that was like really frustrating. But the industry has changed so much. And sometimes I wonder how, you know, myself and there's a couple of other women that I'm close to in the music industry, I wonder how we got this far without having all those
Yeah.
role models here. It was just like, honestly, just sheer grit and determination that like probably no one else would understand. But it's really cool because a couple of years ago, there was a massive push for more women on festival lineups. And we've really seen a nurturing of diverse, like bands
Sure.
within the
Yeah.
local industry, and you can see them just starting to build up to that middle tier now. And so it's going to take time, and it may not be in my lifetime that we see. I don't know. I think like Spirit Box and Ginger are probably the first like female fronted heavy bands
Yeah.
that are capable of headlining festivals, and they've really climbed up fast, and they deserve it, and they are so incredibly talented.
Agreed. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think like it's the grassroots nurturing that was really, really sorely needed, especially here in Australia, which is what the industry has been focusing on. And there's always people that are like, oh, now it seems like you have to be a woman or you have to be like queer or whatever to be considered for opportunities. But the fact is, someone explained it to me when the pendulum's been swinging to the far right, say for so long, you got to swing a hard left, and then eventually it will recalibrate. Um, so I'm really, really proud of how the Australian music industry has supported so many more diverse artists, and continues to support. And we still have a long way to go, but you can see the change, and that's really exciting. And it's also one of those things that, I guess, to cap it all off, for a long, long time, I didn't even think about my gender really that much. Like I knew I was
Sure.
an outlier, but I didn't really think I was a role model. But when we supported Black Veil Brides about a year ago, I just so viscerally remember so many young girls coming up to me, and we played like an all ages show. Um, so these girls were coming up to me and they were like, I play an instrument, I'm a singer, I'm a drummer, I'm a guitarist, and like I want to start a
Oh,
band like you. And like that's it. Like that's all, like that's my job done. And so I think it's like maybe that reason as well that you kind of that gets you through like when you feel like you're not really getting anywhere, is you remember that even just one show had like this massive impact on like hundreds of girls potentially, and that was really cool.
yeah, no, and kudos. I mean, that's I feel like if anything, like as I mentioned before, very similarly to like highlighting different bands across the globe. I think for myself too, like obviously want to be able to celebrate women in music, LGBTQ plus group of people in the industry as well, because as much as there's going to be people that are being like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing this, why are you highlighting these bands? It's like I'm always going to highlight them. It doesn't matter. To me, it's always going to be about the music, but also conversely, I want to be able to know that these people have a place to call their own as well. I think that is such an important thing, and I think has obviously been a large impact on like female musicians more currently, especially within the heavier scene of music, that I've been seeing that over like the past year or two with, again, as you mentioned, like Ginger, Spirit Box. I had Red Hook on recently, like Stan Atlantic's another one that's kind of like, I think the wave is getting larger, and I would hope with each female artist or any sort of artist that we have on here on the channel is that I hope that it unlocks something in someone's head to be like, if you want to do it, like you can do it. You know what I mean? Like there's no other or no better time to just go out and try to find people that want to help you succeed or want you to do well. And like that's kind of like the mode of what it is. And I have to give a lot of kudos to Monica, because I think this because obviously it's not your responsibility to like put bands on that map, but I think by you succeeding and doing well, I think that unlocks more doors for other women or other artists within Australia or the outside country as a whole to do that much better and to succeed. And hopefully those girls that had saw you at the Black Veil Bride show, maybe they might have an easier opportunity to get further along in the music business. At least you would
Yeah.
hope so, right?
Well, it's like it's just crazy representation. It's just seeing someone do something that you've never seen before,
Sure.
unlock something in your mind to think, oh, I can do that too. And it's such a simple thing, but it really makes like the biggest difference. I remember I never was like that interested in screaming because I kind of saw it as like a boy thing or like not very feminine. I don't know, I'd already kind of Yeah, I worked so hard on my clean vocals, singing. I didn't want to ruin my vocal cords or anything. And then I saw the Butcher Babies, which like I'm not that influenced by them musically, but I do admire them for. I guess they were the first like women that I actually kind of related to. Because a lot of the like women in heavy music were very like symphonic and gothic, and that just wasn't my vibe. I'm more like rock and roll,
Yeah.
I guess, sort of influenced. And I don't know, they just looked super like rock and roll, and like they remind like they were very like feminine but also tough, and I just related to them a lot more for some reason than a lot of other artists. And if it wasn't for them, honestly, I wouldn't even be screaming now. So it's like they'll like maybe I'll meet them and I'll tell them one day, but like really they'll never know kind of how many people they've impacted. And just like just seeing someone do their thing and just be their authentic selves opens up so many doors and so many people. So important.
There we go. Well, if you needed the push to go do it, this was your motivation to go out and just do it. Just do it. I did this. Monica did this. So I feel like you have as much or probably even better of an opportunity to do it now. So do it up.
Yep.
The next question I have for you, Monica, keeping it more current, what are you jamming recently? What's on the Spotify? What have you been listening to lately?
Oh God, I always freeze up whenever I get asked this question. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Oh gosh, I've been listening to a lot of Creeper.
Oh yeah, they're great. Oof.
Their new song, with the name's escaping me now, but they have this like incredible like 80s video clip, and I just can't believe I haven't joined the Creeper bandwagon earlier. Creeper are awesome. What else? Yeah, I always just get like so awkward with these questions because usually I just let my Spotify go wild. I don't know. Yeah, I mean Void of Vision. Really love. I'm just trying to think of like the bands that I saw at Knotfest a couple of months ago because I've just been listening to them a lot. Spirit Box. Always have Spirit Box going in terms of jamming, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I listen to a lot of weird music as well at home when I'm working. I like to listen to like psytrance and like random just meditation, like atmospheric music. So yeah,
just like the ohms. I got you. Yeah.
That's a terrible answer to the question. I need to actually like prepare stuff, and I know that I'm going to be asked this and need to look at my Spotify ahead of time.
No, it's all right. I actually enjoy that you aren't like fully divested in the whole like I need to listen to I'm in a heavy band, I need to listen to heavy music, because I think people are often surprised that I don't listen. I mean, I listen to heavy music, of course. I feel like that's without saying. But when I'm not listening to heavy music, I'm often listening to like lo-fi or like listening to stuff that is not heavy music. So I feel like people, and I feel like that artists that have kind of more variety within their music, it just makes it better. Like I think that's what just makes the more interesting questionnaire. So I appreciate the fact that you decided to share the meditation music. Maybe I might have to throw that into my rotation.
I'm just like I'm just awkward. I'm like looking at my Spotify right now, and I mean I have to shout out actually my mates in Future Static who are incredible. Have you chatted to them yet?
I have not, but I did mention that I took a listen to their that I want to listen to their new song Gasolina, which is a cover.
Oh my gosh.
I saw a clip of it online, and I'm gonna probably be doing a reaction video for it. But
this cowboy hat like definitely
it is, yeah. That was the first thing that I thought of when I saw the cowboy hat earlier. But I legitimately was like, who would have thought of this song to cover? But man, I heard the clip of it and I was just like, oh, this is so good. So I'm excited to delve into it. So I'm gonna have to listen to it after this. But they're awesome.
Best video. It's the best video I've ever seen, honestly. And me, Ben, and Ricky got to do the house party scene, and
oh, sick!
A whole bunch of bands and like friends and stuff were a part of that video. So you'll see some cameos, but honestly, it's one of the best videos I've ever seen. They absolutely killed it.
I'll give you a shout out, Monica, in the video. I'll be like, it's my girl Monica. Go check her out, Last Martyr. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to give that one a listen. Like I said, saw a clip and that already hooked me. So now I'm going to have to fully jump into it. But yeah, Future Static, come on the show. Would love to have you. That'd be sick.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, great shout out. Love them. But the next question I have for you, speaking on the realms of cover music, do you have a song you would like to cover, Monica, for Last Martyr?
Oh, gosh. Well, we have a cover coming out. So I can't say what it is, but that will actually be our next single. Yeah, yeah. We're just finishing it up now.
Okay.
So that will be, so we are going to be releasing a cover, but because I can't say what it is, I'll just say a general cover that I've always wanted to do. I don't know if it will be for the Last Martyr, but I've always wanted to cover Heart's Barracuda.
Ooh, that'd be great.
Yeah, like as a vocalist, I thought, you know, the time when the moment comes that I can hit all of these notes with the power that Ann Wilson does, then I know I would have made it as a vocalist. And I'm like very grateful to finally be in a place where I feel like I could belt that out and be really, really fun. So I would love to cover that, even if it's just a karaoke one time. Yeah.
You're a very capable vocalist. I don't want anybody to think this, but Monica is a great vocalist, screams and cleans on point. So don't let her fool you. Don't let her fool you, because she is talented. So I don't want anybody to go and think otherwise. So go check out The Last Martyr. If you don't believe me, you know, check the links in the description. I swear you won't be disappointed. I wasn't. Nice. So. But I have like a pretty hard margin for bands, and I feel like, you know, Monica and The Last Martyr very much cleared that threshold, you know, so just saying.
Thank you very much.
Gotta give the plug. But the next question, Monica, another fun one. What is your favorite food to eat?
Sushi.
Oh, do you have a go-to roll?
Just I love fresh tuna and cucumber. That's probably my go-to. Don't mind a bit of like a tempura hand roll as well. Salmon. Okay. Anything, just all the sushi. I can eat it every single day.
I kind of had that tonight. I made tuna and rice and some cucumbers. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe Beautiful. It was fate. Maybe it was fate that I had Monica on and she was going to tell me that tuna and cucumber and rice and all those things would be the same thing. So, wow.
Yeah.
What a concept.
It's the best. It's the best.
Love it. The next question I have for you, Monica, if you were to have a dream collaboration on an up-and-coming The Last Martyr track, who would just absolutely love to have do a guest feature on it?
Oh, gosh. So many artists. I mean, I would love to collaborate with Courtney from Spirit Box. I think that she's just absolutely killing it right now. She's really the pinnacle, I think. I really love the collabs. There's just so many good collabs. I'd love to like collaborate with like an electronic artist. Like Phase One has done a lot of collaborations with like Red Hook and Polaris and such, and Void Division as well. So I'd really love to do a collab with an electronic artist and just see how they reimagine a track. So I'll lock that in.
Ooh, that's a good choice. I think if I had to throw my metaphorical coin in the hat, I feel like your vocals and Jacob's would be really cool from Thornhill. You know, I think. That would be amazing. I feel like that would be kind of sick. I'd love to hear that. So, Jacob, I'm wearing one of your shirts. You know, when you came to the States. So I'm just saying, you know, if I had to metaphorically put my hat in the ring, that's what it would be. So definitely.
I've never seen a bad Thornhill show. Always.
I have not either.
Perfection.
They are incredible, and I thought for sure, like, I had seen some people say like, oh, they're an incredible band to see live, and I'm like, I'm not really a narcissist in that way, but I'm like, are they really that good, right? Because it's just like you always think that people say hype up bands all the time, and you're like I love Thornhill, so I can say with a surety that they are in fact great live, if not better live than what I imagine it to be. But yeah, Jacob crushes live, so definitely, and the whole
Amazing.
band, they know what's good, so definitely go see Thornhill. But if you'd love to
Yeah.
hear Phase 1, Jacob from Thornhill, and The Last Martyr, you want to tag all three of those bands on Instagram and then type in the word collab ? And, you know, I didn't go to law school. I'm not legally obligated to say this, but I'm gonna anyway. You know, it's on the internet. So I feel like there's a small chance it could be real. So if you want to make that dream a reality, I mean, you could.
I want to know what your audience thinks. I want to know what they think.
You want to?
In
Okay.
terms of collaboration.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Well, and that is part 2. So Monica has asked, let us know what you feel like a great collaborative effort would be from The Last Martyr X fill in the blank. So let us know down in the comments. Would love to know
Yeah.
your thoughts.
Someone said on TikTok the other day, The Last Martyr with Conquer Divide collab.
Ooh.
And I commented on the post and I was like, I did the side eyes, and Conquer Divide replied and they did a little hate. So I thought, oh, better jump on this before it fizzles out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's the magic of social media, you know? So I would love to, that would also be a good one, I would argue, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Would
I
be
also
rad.
know they did one with Electric Callboy, so I feel like if you wanted that like
Ooh.
EDM and also like a band, The Last Martyr, I think that'd be kind of cool too. I'm no offense to Jacob, I think I'm gonna swap Jacob out for Electric Callboy. That's gonna be my choice now. No offense to
You're
Jacob.
cut.
I love you, Jacob. I want to say I love you very much, but I felt like that might be the more appropriate choice, you know.
Nice.
No,
Electric
no
Callboy.
offense.
Awesome.
Jacob's I'm gonna get a nasty DM from Jacob now. He's gonna be like, "Come on, man. I signed all of your records for you when you were in the States." Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna be hurt now. So I'm sorry, Jacob. Come on the show. Would love to have you. But the next question I have for you, Monica, obviously, as you mentioned before, you played bass and you now do vocals. If there is another musical instrument you could master, what would it be?
I think drums would be sick. Yeah. I think that that just would, I feel like I would just let off so much steam playing drums, and you just have so much control. Like when the audience is like nodding their head along or like moshing or whatever, like you're in control of that. So I feel like that would be, you know, that'll be a really cool instrument to play.
That I do agree with that. I just think that I am a far superior air drummer. So if anybody sees me, I'm just like knocking around in my car, but like the bottom half not working. Don't, you know, just not, can't do it. I don't know. It's like my brain will put this together, but then it won't think like, hey, you should move that down to your legs, which is like, you know, the kick drum and all that sort of stuff. So one day, hopefully, I'll figure it out.
It's not for the uncoordinated, that's for sure. That's probably why I haven't played it. That's probably why I don't play
heavily uncoordinated. Yeah, so that's probably it.
Same.
So if somebody wants to keep me coordinated, then let me know. They'll love to work on that. But the next question I have for you, Monica, if you were to compile a dream tour lineup, who would be on it, including, of course, The Last Martyr?
I'm just going to like rehash like some of the bands that we've been talking about. I'm going to say, I think that like the key with touring is just, I think like it's a really cool experience to just be in awe of the bands that you're playing with, but also be able to have some fun along the way. So I would love to bring our mates Future Static on tour, because we just love them and they're mates of ours, and it would be really cool just to tour with mates. I would then say like Spirit Box, obviously they would headline, and let's throw in like Conquer Divide as well, and just have like a full let's just go for it and just have like a crazy sick lineup.
That sounds insane. I would definitely consider looking at the prices for tickets as well as a flight out from Pennsylvania to Australia.
Well, I'm imagining this tour will happen in the States. I haven't toured the States yet, so I feel like if it's going to happen, it has to happen over there.
I hope so. You know, I hope that every Australian band I have on here eventually makes their way to the mainland, you know.
Yeah, would
America.
love that.
So
Hope so.
if you guys go give a like and a follow and all that sort of stuff to the Last Martyr in the description, then there's more of an opportunity for that to like happen, and then like Monica and I can hang out, and like you can meet Monica, and it'll be sick, and
We'll just have one big party. It'll be
we'll all be
amazing.
mates. It'll be sick. She'll teach me a bunch of like Australian stuff that I shouldn't say or should say. Who knows? I don't know, but I've heard. I feel like I've subconsciously become like partially Australian. So I'm hoping
Yeah,
that.
well, it sounds like you've spoken to enough of us now.
I'm just waiting for my card in the mail, so whenever that comes in, I'm gonna be a citizen. It's gonna be great. Super stoked.
Nice. Love it.
I'm keen, as Australians say.
I always forget that that's an Australian thing. Yeah.
Oh, really? So I get.
Oh,
I'm assuming you don't say it
keen.
too much. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we say it all the time, but I always forget that people outside of Australia don't say it.
Yeah, I do. I do find that again, speaking to a lot of Australian bands, there are certain things that people say, and then like they just think it's just commonplace to be said, and then I look at them like, "What's that?" And then they're like, "Oh no, oh okay, so you don't know what that is." Well, and then they'll explain it. So
Yeah.
yeah. I did hear that, like, if a term of endearment is a bad word in the United States here, but is a common word that most Australians say as, like, somewhat, it depends on obviously the language of the word, but a term of endearment slightly. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that one threw
So,
me
and
off.
sometimes when you call someone mate, sometimes that's very sarcastic, and in the wrong context, mate could be, the worst thing. It's very sarcastic and not good, but most of the time mate's good.
Okay, good. You got me a little bit worried there, Monica.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna be good mates, so I felt like that. When you said that, I was like, is she like? I hope she's not being sarcastic. I'd be a little hurt. I wouldn't have been real happy about that, but it's
Yeah,
all
it
right.
really depends on the context.
Most like anything. So I love that. The next thing that I have for you, Monica, is I'm sure you've seen a lot of bands play live, but in your opinion, who puts on a great live performance?
Oh, hands down, Slipknot.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen Slipknot. I think 3 times now, and every single time I see them, I'm like, "Yep, this is the best band I've ever seen live." So there's no, there's no other choice in my mind.
I mean, being able to work Knot Fest and like seeing them, I'm sure that was just like quite the journey. So
Yeah, and what was really cool is I could really see from being like a little bit behind the scenes that the members of Slipknot, the culture that they've bred around their music and how much they like genuinely care about their fans is so evident, and that's why they have such a hardcore following. So yeah, that was a really, really cool thing to see or to notice.
and also see slightly,
And also see, yeah,
pull behind the curtain a little bit. So
a little bit, yeah.
That's awesome. The next question I have for you, Monica, is favorite TV show, favorite movie.
Oh my gosh, the TV shows that I watch are so lame. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I mean, at the moment, I have to just say, like, oh my God, I'm so lame. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm watching Outlander and Just Like That, the Sex and the City reboot. There's a new episode dropping every week of both of them at the moment, and I love it. Oh my gosh. And then in terms of movies, I'm a big horror movie buff. I just watched The Orphan First Kill the other night. That was really cool. I watched a movie called Coherence last night, which is like a bit more of a thriller. So yeah, I'm a big adrenaline junkie. So anything that's like horror or like I really loved, the American Horror Story series, for example. I thought that was like so well done and yeah, great. Every season is amazing. So
now I can figure out, like, in terms of like your music videos, how you might have some like more like darker themes in your music videos. Now it's all coming together. I kind of had a feeling a little bit, but now I feel like it's fully cemented in my head that way. So as long as
Yeah.
I didn't see any jump scares, so that was great. I'll be able to keep my black hair. So I'm waiting for that one time where this is all gonna be gray because it's gonna happen. So uh,
It'd be cool
try.
to do just like a feature length music video sometime, or like not feature length, but maybe like a 15-minute clip that incorporates, some story. I think that would be like the
Oh,
dream for me.
that would be cool. I don't
Yeah.
think that I feel like that would be a lot of budget, but I it
Yeah.
would still.
Just if any record label wants to come along and fund
Woo!
it, then we are all ears.
Let's go. Well, maybe I know Grayscale is out in Australia, so
Yeah.
Grayscale. I
I
might as
think
well
they
put
would.
it out there for Monica.
I don't
Serving
know
it
what their,
up.
their music video budget's like, but they do put out some good clips, that's for sure.
Who knows? I'm gonna just put the positive energy out there and hope that that's the case. Maybe they might budge. We're trying to fish them in, so we'll see what happens. But the next question I have for you, Monica, is if you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one album you could bring with you to listen to, what album would it be?
I think I would probably go with a classic album, like one that I used to listen to when I was a kid because I listened to it a lot and still didn't get sick of it. So I'd probably choose like Use Your Illusion 2 by Guns N' Roses. There's a lot of
Ooh.
like long songs. It's a long album and uh, a lot of diversity, on that album. So I feel like if I listened to it like every day of my being a teenager, then I could probably take it to a desert island and that would be fine.
I like that. That's you got to pick the classics, something that is cemented in your mind as a classic. So it's a good
Yeah.
choice. I like that. But the last question, Monica, arguably the biggest question that I ask, and probably my favorite one. As I mentioned to you before we started doing the interview, I've been interviewing bands for like 7.5, almost 8 years. I love doing it. It's a large passion for me. And I wanted to know what makes you passionate about making music and being in the Last Martyr, because I think oftentimes, when I listen to music, I love to know about the backstory about bands and like why they choose to do it. And then, ultimately, I like to know why they create music because it's such a laborious thing that I'm sure people may or may not understand from making music, but I think that a lot of people can understand that music is a great outlet and a great resource for people to kind of like find a community. So, why is making music important to you and why do you continue to do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so cheesy, but honestly, I make music to help people. I know that music's been like the constant in my life that's been there for me and like poring over lyrics and, back when there was CDs and you'd read like the liner notes and just like look at all the lyrics. I mean, now I'd look at it on Google on my phone, but um, just like knowing that other people have gone through the same stuff that you're going through is just super helpful. And so it's always been my goal. Of course, like it's cathartic for me writing lyrics. I love performing, like the adrenaline, and it's so much fun. And I love everything about the lifestyle of being a musician for the most part. But I think like what keeps you going when you feel like you're just pouring money into something and not seeing like any return whatsoever, or maybe you're just like you've had 1 hour sleep on tour and you have to like somehow get it together to play 2 shows in a row, is like the fact that that like just thinking to what we're saying about the Black Veil Bride show and how many kids like came up to me afterwards, and I could really see that I did make an impact. And you don't always see that. It's just in those like kind of small moments that you remember and you're like, oh, this is actually helping people. Most of the time you don't really have that mirror. So it's those little moments where I feel like I'm actually helping someone through my music that really gets me through, and it's why I do it. I can't speak for the boys, but I'm sure they would back me up in saying that as well.
Yeah, no, I think that ultimately is what I think draws me more into bands or more into artists is like, I feel fortunate enough that I get to speak with people more candidly about why they make music, and I I feel privileged that I get to do it in this sort of way. But as well as that, I think it makes me appreciate the artists that I do have here on the channel. You know, I think it makes me
Mhm.
like appreciate their artistry and why they choose to do it, whether it's like, you know, a release for them, or or they want to be able to help people out because, you know, maybe they have been in a tough position before and they're like, I know what this is like and you can relate to this because maybe you're in a tough time. You know,
Mhm.
I think that's kind of like the cathartic nature of the music that I think both of us listen to, is that, you know, I think that's what originally drew me into the, you know, the heavier scene of music, was just because I was able to relate more. You know, there was something about it that maybe like pop artists didn't really kind of like touch on, or like there was some things that were like a little bit more personal that like I didn't think other people had experienced. And, you know, to have someone speak about their experience and have a similar like sort of thing that they had to go through, like it's very like soothing in a way where you like know that someone else has experienced it. Obviously, no one wants to experience bad things, but I think it's nice to know that someone else has experienced problems and that you can relate to someone else and tell them like, hey, like this album or this song helped me through a terrible time in my life and now like I'm better for it. And so like
Yeah.
that, so I feel like very similarly, like you want to be able to like impact someone else, and for someone to be like, this song impacted me enough to like want to start my own project or want to do this or something like that. And so I love that. So that's why these are the bands I love to have on. So of course I love The Last Martyr, and both comedy slash tragedy and Sugar, chef's kiss, they're both great. So I'm gonna let Monica tell you where you can find The Last Martyr at, what you have coming up in the next couple months, and anything else you would like to plug, Monica.
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. If you head to our website, thelastmartyr.band, you can get to all of our socials and merch and shows that we've got coming up. We've definitely got some shows that we're announcing towards the end of the year, and a couple of new singles coming out very soon. So yeah, come join us on TikTok. We're just at The Last Martyr. And Instagram is pretty much where we hang out most of the time. So yeah, come say hello. We always love when you leave comments or message us or whatever and say that you enjoy our music. It really makes our day.
There we go. Well, I want to, you know, let everyone know who made my day, which is Ophelia, for sending me this band so much longer ago. I'm sorry it took
Shout
forever
out.
for sorry it took so long for us to get The Last Martyr on, but you know, good things come to those who wait. So go check out The Last Martyr. Insanely insane. This is a part where I'm just going to talk up The Last Martyr, but seriously, they are insane. Like if you are not checking this band
Oh,
out, you are sleeping under a rock, and I have come to untomb you from said rock. So please, 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 please go check them out. They really are super, super rad, and probably one of the coolest bands I've found in quite a little bit. So I don't know,
oh,
Australia, crushing it. I don't know what you guys do over there, but something about it that you guys have like some of the best bands, some of the best singles. This year is, I'm gonna call it, this is the year of Australia. So if you aren't on the boat,
woo woo.
don't, you know, don't miss me with that, because I told all of you that this is year of Australia. So go check out The Last Martyr, their newest song, comedy slash tragedy. There will be a link below for that, and Sugar. So go give them some love. Go subscribe to their YouTube channel so you don't miss out on when they drop a new song, because I subscribe. So when I don't miss out on a new song, it won't happen next time. I'll be aware of it. So please go check them out. Also, I'll leave a link to their website as well if you'd like to go pick up some merch, because that always helps bands out. You can do that. That'd be really sick. I'm going to go take a look and see if there's something other than a black shirt with white writing on it. So if there isn't, I'm going to be very upset, and then I'm going to
There
email
is.
Monica. I'm going to email Monica and be like, can you do something other than black shirt, white text, please? Thank you. Thumbs up. Uh, maybe if they get bigger, we'll see. But anyway, go check them out. If you like this interview, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subs before the year's over with. So if you like this, and we're halfway there, and so that'd be really sick if you subscribe. So thank you for watching, and huge thanks to Monica of The Last Martyr for coming on today.
Thanks so much, Brandon. It's been so nice talking to you and talked about a lot of subjects that I'm passionate about. So, yeah, really appreciate you taking the time.